Hi everyone, welcome to Email Marketing 101 with Push and Digital. My name is Jay and I'm the head of new business at Push. And for the last 9 years, I've been working with businesses on their digital marketing strategies. Also on today's webinar, we have Anisha. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name's Anisha. I head up the Push office for the Middle East and North Africa, and happy to be collaborating on this webinar today with Digital.
Fantastic, thank you Anisha. We have Gavin from Digital.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's probably me now. Yes, so I'm Gavin, head of strategy and insight at Digital. Essentially, I'm here to kind of do bits and pieces like this, kind of share information with the masses, but also to run deep dive sessions with clients on understanding more about their data, so they can communicate better with their audience, and yeah, just kind of learning a little bit more about email marketing.
Cool, so really happy to be doing this session together. I think Push are really thrilled to be announcing our agreement with Digital to be their exclusive reseller across the MENA region. I think our digital marketing services combined with Digital's automation technology is going to gear up any business for success online. So key channel and where Digital really started out is email marketing. So let's kick off. What is email marketing, Gav?
Just straight into it, right? What is email marketing? Well, I've been in email now for, I think it's like 16, 17 years. This is where you say you don't look like you're old enough to be in email for that long, but I've been into it and I totally fell into it by accident. It was a time when I was in sales and I used to speak to people about email and they'd say straight away, "Isn't that spam?" So I think we've come a long way from that, and email kind of established itself as one of the essential parts of a marketer's box of tricks. Whether it's going to be sort of soulless one-off email campaigns, or you're putting together really sort of structured, planned, automated messages. Email is particularly the key, and it's sometimes seen as a forgotten child. So other channels get a little bit more notoriety than email, but I think even more now than ever that we're in this sort of strange time, 2020. I think email has kind of sort of established itself as being one of the key players, and this is one of the particular things that I think makes email so important. For every dollar you spend, on average, you get back in ROI about $42, and that's kind of unrivaled in a number of different channels. So email has kind of established itself as one of the key players in your marketing mix. It's like the backbone of any marketing strategy. So we need to kind of look after it and make sure that we've got the right strategies in place to kind of maximize it. So I guess that's why we're here today, and why we're going to kind of run through a couple of different topics and make sure we give people exactly what Email 101 is.
Fantastic. So I actually have a question for you right away. What I'm thinking about is when we run digital marketing campaigns on Google or Instagram, Facebook, any of these different platforms, we're always looking at how we can define the audiences, because we have different audiences that will engage with us in different ways and be interested in different things. So how do you go about doing that when it comes to an email campaign?
Well, it's kind of the same, really. I think one of the key things I do is when I sit down with a client is try to find out if they know who their audience is, and that kind of comes from having personas, different personas, and then understanding what your value proposition is, because that's typically what happens there. And I think we've seen research that 82% of companies that use personas have a better understanding of exactly what it is their value proposition is. So I think that's what you need to be doing, putting your efforts into understanding exactly who you're going to be contacting, because otherwise you don't know, how to sell your products and services. And I think that goes for any sort of industry, and not just email.
And so to the businesses that are sitting here and thinking, I've never created a persona before, what would you advise them? How would they go about doing that?
So you'll want to do as much research as possible, really. You can look at your competitors as well. That's something to kind of look at, but look internally too. I often speak about the marketing team and the sales team kind of working together, and that's something that doesn't happen too often. They're kind of at loggerheads, but you need to use those internal teams. So marketing, account management, and the services teams as well, support, because they're on the front line. They understand exactly what your customers are sort of dealing with, and what they need. So that's ultimately what you should be doing, looking towards those things, but also thinking about who is on the other end of that email you're sending. It's not often the decision maker that's on the other end. So sometimes you need to think about that person. They may be influencing the decision maker. So just thinking about the makeup of your audience and who you're actually sending to, and how you should interact, and what content you should be generating.
So I'd say, based on that and thinking about who your emails are being sent to, who's opening them, are you a fan of benchmarking? How are businesses, what's your thoughts on how businesses should benchmark the success of a campaign and considerations behind that?
I think the simple answer to benchmarking is I'm not a fan of it at all. And it might be a unpopular view, but I'm really not a fan of benchmarking. Well, sorry, that's not true. I think it's the way that you benchmark. I think a lot of the time, you'll look towards other businesses and you'll get these benchmarking reports, and you'll kind of say, well, this is the industry average, that's what we have to aim for. And it's good to have something to aim towards. But I think what's misleading is that another business will have a different data set. Their product might be slightly different as well. The people working within the business will be different. The content will be different. So you're striving after a figure or a goal that isn't achievable. So that's kind of why I don't like benchmarking. But I do like it in the sense that if you benchmark against yourself, then you'll be able to actually improve and hit some strong numbers. So that's probably what I would look towards.
Yeah, I think it's key to know your own data, assess your own data via tools such as GA and other platforms to be able to do that across various channels, and then build upon your marketing. Exactly. What about resources? Anything you'd recommend in terms of resources for anyone to check up on?
Like I said, I don't really like benchmarking reports. There are a number of benchmarking reports you can sort of look for and download. But I guess a quick plug for us at Dot Digital is our yearly report. We have a report we bring out each year, which is called Hitting the Mark, and essentially that is a breakdown of the sort of e-commerce industry and what they're sending out and what tactics they're using in terms of email automation and email marketing. And the reason why I think that's a good place to start is it's visual. You can see different campaigns that you can actually take from and utilize yourself. There are some benchmarking figures, but it's more about sort of learning about what other tactics people are using that you can employ yourselves, and then you can start to benchmark yourselves. So yeah, Hitting the Mark is something I'd recommend looking at.
Okay, so other than benchmarking and moving on to measurement as a whole, we have various metrics that we look at in terms of when a business is working with us to advertise through Google Ads, through Facebook, Instagram, etc. So when it comes to email and email marketing as a channel, what are some of the key metrics that a business should be looking out for?
I guess it really depends on what your goals are as a business. But generally in email, and you see this a lot with our account managers and working with different businesses. You know, they are looking straight off at opens and click-through rates, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think that's a great place to sort of start and looking at benchmarks. But ultimately, you want to go further than that and start looking at things like your list growth, and revenue generated, ROI. As I mentioned before, the ROI stat, and also value of email address is really important. Once you start to have an idea of a value of an email address that sits on your database, you'll start to understand how much you're willing to put into time and effort and money to bring someone on as a new contact, and the same thing as well to convert them into a paying customer. So I think value of email address is one of those key ones that you can start to equate and then look at periodically and see how you're improving along the way. But there's a number of different metrics that you could be using.
Just on that point as well, and the value of an email address, building on your own database, your first-party data, etc. How I'd be very keen to hear your thoughts on when a business is enticed by buying a database. We see it very frequently here in the MENA region, not so much elsewhere, but I'm keen to hear what you think about bought database lists.
Do you want my honest opinion?
Very much so. I know what that is.
I will stand by this and say, don't buy data. Do not buy data. One of the key things for me in email marketing is relevancy, right? If you're not being relevant, you're not going to get the ROI that I've been speaking about before. And having a bought-in database list of contacts, you're just not going to get that. They can argue that it's relevant for a particular industry. If you're not in that industry, then it's not relevant. And again, people just haven't opted in to receive comms from you, so you're not going to get that traction that you want. So purchase lists are not what you need. You need to be sort of building up an organic database, one that's your own. It's fully consented. People know exactly what it is they're expecting to get from you. And then there's no ambiguity. There's no issues with GDPR, and that's that is the way to approach things.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I have a question just around the database that you need to build. I guess that is really the most important step if you're going to run any kind of email marketing campaign.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you can't really contact people if you don't have their email addresses. So yeah, I'd say out of these sort of 5 areas that we have in terms of email marketing 101, building your database is probably one that you put a gold star on, right? You need to have the contacts in order to reach out to people and start to build up a relationship. So yeah, definitely.
And businesses now, they're spending thousands and thousands of pounds driving people to their website, which is almost like their shop window. So typically they're only capturing email addresses at the stage where someone has actually made a purchase or actually bought something from their site. So how can they capitalize on that space to collect more emails and to build this database?
I've always said that if possible, and it's not if possible, it's like you need to make this happen. You use the real estate on your website. And I talk about the top, middle, and bottom of the page. As you said, Jay, it's great that at purchase you capture these people, but you can also help to nurture these people up to a purchase if you capture the email addresses much earlier. So top and bottom of the page, if you can give up an area that they can sign up to there, great. Another one is pop-ups, and it sort of divides people here. So I'll throw it over to you guys for this one. Okay. You've got 2 hats on. You've got your business hat, your marketer's hat, and you've got your consumer hat on. So with your consumer hat on, I'll ask you, do you like pop-ups, Anisha?
I don't mind pop-ups depending where it comes across on the website, or to me it's kind of like similar to when I see a remarketing ad as with my consumer hat on. It
Yeah,
can get annoying. As an advertiser, I'd say it depends how well you do it, your frequency cap, etc. But
yeah,
in general, it can get annoying if it's not in the right place.
yeah. And Jay?
For me, it really depends on where I'm at in my user journey on your site. So if I've just landed on your site and I haven't seen anything about you before, and you've presented me with a pop-up to sign up to your newsletter or mailing list, I don't know anything about you. What is my incentive or reason for doing that? I don't know if I want to buy from you yet. So
Yeah,
when the pop-up does happen, it also needs to give me a real reason to sign up. There's got to be some,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be a voucher or something, but tell me what I'm signing up for. What do I get from this newsletter? Or what do I get from giving you my email address?
Yeah, yeah, and you're both totally right. I think, yeah, as marketers, we can kind of see the advantages of having pop-ups. I mean, some of the stats are the average conversion rate for a pop-up is like 3.9%, and to come back to your point, Jay, about where and when it should happen. The best results are after about 8 seconds, having a pop-up display. But ultimately, pop-ups are supposed to interrupt you. They're supposed to stop you in your tracks. But there should be some sort of trade-off. I'm not always saying that it has to be some sort of offer, but at least give someone something. While you're stopping them, give them something in return, whether it's some sort of gated entry to content they wouldn't get elsewhere, or as I said, some sort of offer. But that's why you have that pop-up, or you have it on specific pages of your website. That's why you have them. But they do work. They do work, and I've seen some really great results from companies that use them properly. So yeah, I'd say utilize your website in the right way and have pop-ups too.
I mean, when we speak to customers, we're always telling them, as much as you can drive traffic to your website, that's not good enough. You want them to do something on the site. So a lot of our customers that we work on conversion rate optimization, making sure that user experience is going to help them, collect that data and capture those emails and get those sales. So from an email perspective, where else can you acquire data?
It's pretty much anywhere and everywhere, right? You can look to the footer of an email. That's a good place to sort of look. You might want to look at doing refer a friend programs to kind of get people there. But ultimately, you want to look at doing in-store, if we're allowed to do events again, at events, actual face-to-face, social. SMS is a great place to do this as well. We've used it with a couple of football teams we work with in stadium. Big up on the screen. Text this number to join the mailing list, and that works brilliantly. It's a really quick and easy way for people to join up, and they know exactly what they're signing up to. I think that the key to any of this is just being open, honest, and transparent. We want your data, yes, but here's what you're getting in return, and here's how we're going to use it. And the opportunities are endless in terms of where you can get data. It's just about being, as I said, open, honest, and transparent.
Yeah, that's really key. I think across all platforms really, and how you build your database, regardless of what platform or what channel it comes through, and how to build on that and nurture and refine that on an ongoing basis. So moving on to point 4, planning your campaigns. Now that a business is at a stage where they have their data, they've built their goals, they know what their strategy is, they've defined their audiences, their personas. What sort of campaigns should a typical business be starting out with?
I think really you want to look towards anything that's going to make the biggest impact for you straight away. So I talk to clients about sort of splitting your campaigns into two groups. you've got your transactional campaigns and your informative campaigns. And transactionals are those like service emails. You know, you've just purchased something and you're getting the order confirmation and bits and pieces like that, or you know, changes in prices or complete changes to service. Those are the type of messages that, because a customer is paying for the service, they'll want to get those. On the other side of things are informative. So things like your newsletters, digital magazines, event invitations, and even welcome program messages or nursery program messages. And those are things that people don't necessarily want, but you know, they can unsubscribe from. So it's your job to kind of make them feel like they're actually vital messages. And those welcome programs are brilliant for that. You know, we've been talking about how you actually collect the data, but as you collect the data, make sure instantly you're sending out a message to these people to let them know who you are, welcome them to your world, get to know them a little bit more, and then maybe do some recommendations on the best product that you have in your suite to buy. So yeah, breaking it down in that respect, yeah, I think probably those welcome emails are the best place to start.
Once you've defined all that, you know, you've put in all the effort, you want to make sure that you've got eyeballs on your email. And I think, you know, scrolling through our phones, we're on our way into work, get to work, our inboxes are constantly flooded. How do we make an email stand out in an inbox?
That is probably the question for 2020, right? I think more and more people have been sending campaigns, and you can see yourself. You know, when you look in your inbox, there's probably a lot more content in there. I guess the first thing to do is make sure that your company name is visual straight away. If they know you and your brand, then you know, making that appear. But the subject line is definitely something in there. I think it's something like 33% of the reason why people open an email is down to the subject line. So you want to look at the makeup of that subject line, whether you're using emojis in there, whether you're playing about with the language, whether you're personalizing in that subject line, but sort of play about with that. I think that's what sort of tricks you need to be looking for, and pre-header text as well. So you'll notice in the inbox you'll get the subject line, but just after there's a little bit of text afterwards. That's the pre-header text. Playing about with those two groupings of text can really make a difference.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think, you know, subject lines are super key for emails. And as an agency, you know, the concept applies to any ad copy that we're creating, whether it's an ad for social, an ad for Google, etc. It's, you know, your title, your description, the way that you attract a customer to essentially click through is the first step to getting people in. What do you think about, you know, nowadays we're seeing lots of memes, GIFs, icons. You know, people will do anything to stand out, be it on a search or in an inbox. What do you think about a meme and a GIF and those sorts of standout points?
I think I think you're right. I personally love GIFs. I love GIFs in a campaign. Whenever I do presentations, I've got some examples. There's always a GIF in a campaign, because I think you know, they always say a picture speaks 1,000 words. Well, then a GIF, you know, its word count is off the charts. And you have on average, and this is average, it's probably less than this as well, about 13 seconds of someone actually opening your email and actually reading through it. So, you know, imagery does a great job for that. But as I said, GIFs are really, really strong in that respect. And make them fun, you know, use, you know, we probably don't have enough time to go through exactly what these are, but interactive campaigns, kinetic emails, they're kind of, when you can click on something and something changes within them, those are the sorts of things you need to be looking at. You know, just give your stuff a bit of personality. You as your brand have a personality, and make that stand out, make that known. So I think, yeah, GIFs and memes, definitely try it out and test it. That's the other thing as well. You know, test it, see if it works. So
I think being being memorable is important in this industry, and making sure people remember, because like you said, our inboxes are flooded with emails. And I guess when I think about my own behavior on email, it depends sometimes about where I am in the user journey. So if perhaps I've already spoken with a brand or already been to their website, I might not open their email right until I'm ready to buy it. And we have these people that are sending emails and it's about brand awareness, but we also have these emails which are all about getting the end action. It's saying, you know, buy this now, it's on sale and the sale is ending, and so on. How do you measure the effectiveness of your email marketing for those different stages, from brand awareness to end actions?
That's a really good point. I think what you need to start looking at is the life cycle, the user journey that you have for these people as well. So, as you mentioned perfectly, is that people will be at different stages, and the best way of communicating with people at those different stages is to have automated campaigns. But to measure those, it probably brings us right back to where we were talking about before in terms of what metrics you use, whether that's going to be open rates or click-through rates or conversion rates, those types of things. That's what you need to be looking at to measure those. GA is great for that, but if your email marketing tool, email automation tool has some sort of metric to measure ROI, as we do at Digital, then that's great for you. You can see straight away that this campaign has generated X amount for me, and then you can start to look into deeper metrics, whether or not having links in particular places, or size of links, whatever, is helping to push more traffic through to the website to aid conversion. So yeah, start looking at all those sort of base metrics, and understanding where in the journey these people are will kind of give you an idea of which metric is going to be best for you.
Okay. And so using Google Analytics, Google Analytics is usually our first recommendation to customers. It's, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a holistic platform, so you can track everything that's happening on your website from various channels. So that could be from Google, Facebook, and obviously your email marketing as well. One of the issues I think a lot of businesses are facing at the moment is they are in a situation where they're under pressure. They've just launched a business, or they've lost a lot of money because they had some issues during the pandemic. They have investor numbers they're trying to hit. And one of the challenges I think businesses are having, and one of the excuses they're giving, is they're saying they have no time to be testing lots of different things. So what would you say to those businesses?
Well, you can't afford not to test, basically. You have to make time to test. You can't pass judgment on a particular channel, and it is any channel, not just email, until you've looked at what you set up and where you are, like a week or two, a month in after setting a particular strategy up. So you need to test. You can't say that something isn't working or something is working unless you're testing it constantly. So I think you need to build up a sort of a culture of testing within your business, because that will give you the results you're looking for. And if you don't have time, there's things like you mentioned GA. There's things like we've got like a GA tool that you can just sort of plug in, and it can give you some of the metrics straight away. And so that's something you can look at, but you should always be making time to test.
And I'm thinking now about those businesses that have just launched and are new to digital. For them, trying to navigate the world of digital with so many channels, so many different platforms, can be difficult. And when it comes to testing, if we think about emails alone, the things that we've talked about that influence that, you've got the subject lines, you've got the content of the email, if it's text, if it's images, the purposes, the actions, the user journeys. Where's the best place to start when you want to begin testing with email?
When you put it like that, it really does sound like it's a full-on job, and it is a full-on job. I guess the best place to start is going to be open. Testing is a massive part of any of this, and I think the best place to start is going to be on the opens, actually getting eyes on your emails. So go back to the open rates. and that means testing massively on the subject line, as we mentioned before. If you can optimize that subject line and you can perfect it, well, actually, there's I'll put a pin in that bubble there. There's no perfecting this. You'll never perfect the subject lines testing. You're always going to be testing, but you might start to see trends and bits and pieces that work for your audience or specific people in parts of that journey. So yeah, I would start off on the subject line and start testing on that and seeing exactly what is helping to drive up the open rates, and then you can start drilling down into click-through rates and the design and whatnot within your campaigns.
Yeah, I guess if people haven't even opened the email, there's no point testing anything in terms of the content within there or the pages
exactly
afterwards.
Exactly, yeah.
And thank you so much. You know, there's been a lot of really great thought-provoking ideas today. What are some of the key takeaways that businesses should recall after this webinar?
Well, I hopefully we've answered all those, or I've answered those questions well. There have been a couple of things in these different sort of topic areas. So maybe bring these back up, the key points that maybe I've covered. But I think the best thing to do is, well, we can watch this back over again. That would be quite useful. But start off generating the list of contacts that you want to send to, and understanding, you know, who and what you want to be sending to them. And then work on standing out. You know, what is your unique selling point? What's gonna set you aside from for the rest of the people in your industry? And I guess if you need a little bit more after that, you can always contact us, right? Reach out to us and we can help put you on the right path. But definitely start sending out your stall and getting the right contacts to reach out to.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end of today's webinar. I just want to give a massive shout out to Gavin. Thank you so much for participating today, answering all of our questions, and being today in collaboration together between Push and Digital. Thanks a lot, Jay, for supporting us as usual. And thanks to everyone watching today. Any questions, you've got our email up on screen. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. And of course, watch this space for a lot more content, a lot more webinars to come. And thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.